Hey folks, Kiltman here, Kiltman at your Simian services. How are you all? We're all doing very well. Simian services, see what I did there? Yeah, because look at all the Kongs. I'm festooned with Kongage. We can all do the conga. No, what's going on? Disney Plus, that rampaging mouse again. It's chewing up other things all the time, other properties, other projects, other productions, other time-cherished things that we've loved from our childhood. Yes, the ravenous mouse is now devouring King Kong. King Kong, the king of Skull Island. Yeah. Now, how was this coming about then exactly? Folks, many of you know I'm a massive disciple of Kong. The original 1933. The 76 remake, yes, I am. I love the 76 remake. I've talked about it a lot. And I love all the offshoots that there's been novelisation-wise. And of course, Peter Jackson's lavish OTT, incredibly laborious and elongated version, which he brought out, which I love. And I've said before, it's a fan-made love letter to the original by Merian C. Cooper, Schoedsack and Willis O'Brien, who brought Kong to life in that fantastic stop-motion animation, which is still so fantastic to watch and behold these days. But Jackson's version, it's what every fan would do if they had the money to do so. They just make every single scene longer and more involving, and put all the bits in that were cut out of the original version. The spider pit sequence. I still do love his interpretation. But I've got this thing with Kong where I love the mystery. I love all the arrival on Skull Island, all the tribal elements, and then obviously, you know, the mystery of the inner regions of the island, the jungle, the monsters, the insects, all the hell on earth that goes on there, and the death of all the sailors. It's non-stop. It's literally non-stop. I love all that, but what I don't like, well, I'll do, but it hurts me to watch it. You know where I'm going. Once he gets to New York, I'm like, oh no, here we go. So very often, I won't watch beyond, you know, his capture. I just can't. I love all the adventure and the spectacle beforehand. I love some of the rampaging around New York, but I know what's coming. When I'm in the mood to watch it, I will watch all of the original and all of the 76, and obviously all of Wacko Jacko's version as well, which again extends all of that. He goes ice skating, for God's sake. What's all that about, you know? And I can't stand Adrian Brody. I really can't. Anyway, so you've had all those versions, and then you've got, obviously, the Monsterverse took place. And I know many of you are great fans of that. I, sadly, am not. I love the original Gojira Godzilla. I love that. I'm not so fussed on any of the remakes. And I didn't like Kong being involved in the original Gojira interpretations. I didn't like... You know, Monster Mashers are great. I'm a massive fan of the original Universal ones. Frankenstein meeting the Wolfman and all that, and then everybody getting together, Dracula, and now everybody else was all involved. I loved all of that stuff. Abbott and Costello even got drafted in as well, met everybody. But beyond that, the Monsterverse, bringing these guys together has never been a thing for me. So you got Skull Island with Tom Hiddleston and Samuel L. Jackson, and the biggest Kong ever to grace the screen. Visually, it was splendid. And I liked the time period, the Vietnam era. I liked all that, but I just didn't care about a single character involved in it. And I didn't care about Kong. If you don't care about Kong, you've got nothing. There's nothing there. There's no heart and soul to it. So no, I'm not on board for that. But then you've got, obviously, Godzilla, King of Monsters, and Godzilla versus Kong. And this is where the whole convoluted sort of rights come in. Rights, you say, Kiltman? You mean copyright? Well, that's something you don't know much about, quite clearly. Don't we all know? You've got certain people have the rights to using the name Skull Island and Kong in the same title, but they can't use King and Kong together. and other people have the rights to use King and Kong together. Now, Disney, the ever-devouring Disney, have now got the rights, apparently. So, Disney Plus are going to get a new TV show about King Kong. And it's going to be called, well, hang on a second, let's see what it's going to be called. I've got the Blair Bitch here. And of course, the sun is now shining through the window and I can't see a damn thing. Just 1 second, folks. There we go. Let's see if that's made a difference. Right. Okay, I'll read you the blurb out. An iconic monster is headed to Disney Plus. Disney branded television is in very early development on King Kong. That's the working title. The working title is King Kong. Normally working titles are kind of like, they're kind of elusive, so you don't know what they're working on. It's called King Kong. I think it's about a big giant ape. I don't know, do you think so? A series for Disney Plus tracking the original story of the famous ape. Deals have just closed for the project from James Wan again, James Wan's Atomic Monster, his production company, which would mark the first live-action series set in the Kong universe. Written by, and I don't know these people at all, written by Paper Girls creator Stephanie Folsom, King Kong is a serialized action-adventure drama that brings the classic monster story into the modern age, with a return to Skull Island and the dawn of a new Kong. The series would explore the mythology of King Kong's origin story and the supernatural mysteries of his home based on the original Merian C. Cooper's original books and concept and creation of King Kong, and the new King Kong novelizations by Joe DeVito. Joe DeVito is an artist, illustrator, sculptor and writer who, in the wake of Peter Jackson's King Kong, did his own sort of offshoot, which I've got here. I'll show you it now. What's it called? Kong, King of Skull Island. And these are large, it's a large format novel, which acts as a prequel and a sequel to the original 1933 King Kong, where you've got Carl Denham, who was the original entrepreneur that voyaged out to Skull Island and found Kong, brought him back to New York. The showman. Now it's his son, Vincent, I think he's called, if I remember rightly, who is taking on the mantle to find out what is his dad's creation, you know, this giant ape that was destroyed in New York. What happened there? What's the backstory? He goes out to Skull Island with a whole new bunch of people, and they encounter the original people that live on the island, the tribes, and they tell of the original story of how Kong and they coexisted, or rather the Kongs, because there's different Kongs, obviously, it's a dynasty, and how they fought a huge sentient, is he a Tyrannosaur? I'm not sure what he is, but dinosaurs, anyway, the big dinosaurs called Gore and his people, well, his lizard people, and the war between the Kongs and the Gores and the Tagu people, I think they're called. So you get the backstory to Kong and Skull Island via flashbacks that the storyteller of the village tells Vincent Denham, and then you get what happens to them, which is obviously it's after the events of the original King Kong. So prequel, sequel, there you go. Now, this guy, Joe DeVito, has actually written 2 more books, which they're going to allude to in more recent times, because this came out way back in, again, the sort of time when the Wacko Jacko's version was having its big success. And he wrote one called Exodus, which told the story of the Tagu people and how they arrived at Skull Island, and then one called The Wall, where they build the wall, obviously. And it's all like fold-out illustrations and that, because being an artist himself, he creates these stories and then co-writes them with a fella called Brad Strickland. And then, but he does all, DeVito does all the illustrations in there, and they are gorgeous. In fact, I'll show you a couple of them from this. May as well. The sun is, oh, let's get rid of that. Oh. It's a bank holiday weekend, folks, and the sun is absolutely blazing down. And now someone's drilling. You know what? There's a depiction of the gates of the wall. So the ring light's going to pick up on this, so, but you'll get the gist. And you get some colour plates, and you get these gorgeous sort of sepia tinted plates, and they are fantastic. There's Gore, the big dinosaur bastard. He's got someone in his mighty paw there, the Gore paw. But there's loads of illustrations. There's someone hiding there. Not sure if that's Vincent Denham or Carl Driscoll, the Bruce Cabot character from the original King Kong. I think he's alongside for the adventure. There's Kong on the rampage. But they're beautiful illustrations, and his ideas are great. They're not canon. They are not canon. But it would appear that Disney Plus are going to use these to create their expanded mythos of Skull Island and the origins of King Kong. What gets me is, as I read out before, so a serialized action adventure drama, I like the sound of that, brings a classic monster story into the modern age. With a return to Skull Island and the dawn of a new Kong. So it's going to explore the mythology of King Kong's origin story and the mysteries of his home, based, from Merian C. Cooper's original books. So clearly, it's going to act like that original book there, a sort of sequel to what we know of Kong, with a new Kong in the modern age, but we're going to learn the backstory. So it could be told in 2 different time periods, who knows. But as I say, he did write 2 more books, Exodus and The Wall. Now, I'm afraid they're not as worthy. Exodus kind of rehashes a lot of what you see in that book there, and The Wall takes a lot from the original. There's been graphic novels and comics as well, which all have the same sort of flavours and ideas drifting in and out, and The Wall takes a lot from the comic books as well. King Kong has also had so many animated series. There's one recently on Netflix as well, which I've not actually watched. Again, my point about all of this, this cavalcade of Kong Utopia, you could call it, is that I love King Kong, but I'm a bit dubious and wary of new interpretations. As I say, I'm not a fan of the Monsterverse at all. It did not inform me. Although, I probably speak for a lot of people of my sort of age and sensibilities, that when cherished things from our past are rehashed, retweaked, reimagined, rebooted, sequelized, prequelized, sidequelized, serialized, we're kind of, we're a bit wary, a bit unsure where they're going to go with this. Are they going to abuse it? Are they going to exploit it? What are they going to do with it? And so you might be excited initially. You get a little brief flurry of euphoria. Oh, it'd be great to see some more of this. Or we can explore that. In actual execution, these things are never what you want them to be. But, so you kind of watch it with bated breath. Oh, is it going to be good? And then you're kind of waiting for the moment when you go, oh, well, I didn't like that. Oh, why did they go and do that? Oh, well, that's it. It's ruined it for me. You're kind of expecting that moment to come through. Now, I think that's a unique sort of affliction that people of my generation seem to have, because the younger generation don't worry about things like that. Doesn't concern them at all. They're not as invested in the character, the story, the whole creation of this thing that we've known and loved since we were children. Dear God. And I haven't even started this yet. Which reminds me, I better crack on. Cheers. Now, so I think you need to take the jaundiced, cynical, goggles off and look at these things with fresh eyes and see them for what they really are. And this series might be great. It might be. See, part of me going, but it probably won't be. So, but you've got to sit on the fence, I suppose. But you've got to go in with an open mind and hopefully it will work out and you do enjoy it. I love King Kong, as I keep on saying, and I do want to explore more of this. The backstory that DeVito and, what's his name, Strickland came up with is actually great. It really does play into the mythology and the tribal elements and the evolution of Skull Island and how it all came about. And it's great. It's very Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's very sort of at the Earth's core, fighting dinosaurs and 2 dynasties, the Kongs, the Tagu, and the Gors. It's clever, but it's kind of obvious at the same sort of level. Whereas Merian C. Cooper's original exploration of Skull Island, everything is just mysterious. It's just a prehistoric, land lost in time. and a giant ape. Where the hell did that come from? You know, how powerful is he? And it's beautiful. So I'm going to go into this kind of with fingers crossed, but it's nowhere near coming out yet. Now, you've had this Netflix series, which I'm going to have to look at. I forgot what it's called, but it's going to be Kong of Skull Island, King Kong of Scully Bits. I don't know. It's going to be a permutation of that. That's what they keep on doing now. So let's read the rest of it. Now, it does mention a live-action series, King Kong Skull Island, was in development at Mar Vista Entertainment and IM Global Television 5 years ago with a different creative team. Also based on Cooper's King Kong and the DeVito artwork Skull Island, that book I just showed you. With Festa executive producing, it did not come to fruition. I can tell you why. The main reason is because that was an all-female cast. Now, I don't want to even go into the whole woke thing, but that clearly was. That was like the all-female Ghostbusters, which was a travesty and a disaster, and done for deliberately woke reasons. That clearly, that all-female cast for that idea, and having them having adventures with Kong, no, that was done from a pure woke perspective. Let's not. I keep on defending things which I don't perceive as being woke. Pray, but that very definitely was woke, purely from conceptual stages onwards. Also, those big companies I mentioned who were going to run that and produce it, they're Chinese, a mighty Chinese entertainment conglomerate. And the less said about that, the better. So that never came out, thank God. You couldn't have trusted it, and it wouldn't have worked. But this, yeah, I'm reasonably interested in this. Interested so much that I dug out all my Peter Jackson King Kong figures. There's a whole slew of them here. There's a V-Rex. It's not a T-Rex, it's a V-Rex in that King Kong. I've got some of the insectoid bastards as well, skittering and crittering around behind me there. In fact, I might do a video on these because I got a lot of the merchandise for that film, and I still do love the movie. I haven't revisited it for a long time, but you know, I do like it. It's just that it's overplayed, and Adrian Brody's nose gets in the way of the screen so much. I just can't stand. But I'm going to show you something else as well, because going along with Peter Jackson's in-depth approach to movie making, how much he invested the creative and imaginative side of himself and his teams from the Weta Workshop, to all the effects and the production design, into The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. God, he went just as far into Skull Island and the development of his Kong with Andy Serkis. Look at this book. Typical, isn't it? You know, I wait for a quiet moment. There was a baby howling earlier on, so I thought, oh, I'll wait till that's quieting down. So I wait for a quiet lull. Baby's not caterwauling anymore. So now he starts drilling. You know what? Life. It just continues to pepper me with bear spray, you know, right in my eyes and up my nose. Right, this is a book which Peter Jackson commissioned, and there's a foreword by him as well. It's very expensive, this book now, but I got it when it first came out, and it's called The World of Kong, A Natural History of Skull Island. And it's from the Weta Workshop. This looks at Skull Island as if it's a real place, with all the creatures, all the flora, all the fauna, all the geology of the landscape, and it goes into it with such incredible images, photos, descriptions. It takes it as a scientific reality, and this is like a natural history thing. There's some of the bloody bastard bugs that you get there. Now, they seem harmless enough, but you get these great big huge centipede things, you know, from the infamous spider pit sequence. What else have you got? The flower and the fauna, flowers and the fauna, the little innocent little monkey type things, little monkeys. They're called burglar monkeys, and they actually have specialised skills themselves. Here's some more of them bloody bugs. Look at them. But you look at all the dinosaurs, the plant life, So dinosaurs, lots of dinosaurs and stuff. Yeah, look at these guys. It talks about their evolution and skeletal adaptations from a really scientific perspective. And it's incredible the depth that he went into, or that production went into. That's got nothing to do with the movie. It's just an offshoot from it, but I love it. Artist depictions, and then you'll get like more scientific sort of renderings of these creatures. And you will get the giant apes as well, of course. But look at some of these plates. That ring light away, and that gorgeous, isn't it? That's what's standing there behind these guys. Let's have a look. Like artist sketches as well. I'm trying to find you some scary stuff. And for me it's always the bugs, but here you got bugs and you got these horrible crab things and these huge like piranha type things. In fact, that thing there I think is what I've got this Kong fighting in that little depiction there. Oh, Scorpiopede. Oh dear God, look at these things. You're kidding me. And they brought out a lot of the figures of these things. Oh, sorry, the Pteranodon. Sorry, that's what he's fighting in that little figure over there. He's fighting a Pteranodon. And you get details of the skulls. Look at this. That's the moon spider there. You don't see it in the movie, but what that does, it smells hatchling dinosaurs when they're about to hatch, or anything that's going to hatch from an egg. It can smell it on the night breeze, and then they go and wait as these things are about to claw their way out of their eggs, but they're vulnerable and weak and young, and these bloody moon spiders are waiting to pounce on them. Skull Island is not a place to go and visit, is it? It really isn't. But it's a wonderful, wonderful book, so lavishly illustrated. I'll get on to the Kongs, who are, here we go. Let's get on to these. Because Kong is a race. It isn't just one thing. They're a race of Kongs. And you do see his ancestors in, of course, Peter Jackson's version. And it goes on about these, how they live together, how they fight the dinosaurs. Yeah. I know, that ring light, that pesky damn ring light. If it isn't the sunlight, or babies screaming, or drills going, it's the ring light itself. Look at that. Oh, coming for you. Brilliant. Do love it. Do love it. And you love it because, oh, there he is, the Andy Serkis incarnation. Well, Peter Jackson incarnation. Battle scarred and older. And he is, what is he now? I'm just trying to think what their genus is. Megaprimatus Kong, big primate Kong, 18 to 25 feet tall. He's smaller than the original King Kong, 1933, and smaller again from the 1976 Kong, and he only comes up to the kneecap of the Kong from Skull Island from the Monsterverse. It was fucking huge. But and I do like the look of that Kong. Do not get me wrong. And I like his introduction where they're going in the helicopters and all that. Like, they can't believe what they're looking at. I mean, I like all that. But the rest of it just, it was a lot of diminishing returns, I found. Cheers, y'all. But the thing about Kong that they're trying to seem to forget, I suppose, is that, I said before, he has a heart and soul. He is a rampaging beast. He's the last of his kind. He survives because, well, he's bigger and stronger than anything else on the island. The tribespeople there love, revere, respect, but fear him completely, which is why they offer him sacrifices. He doesn't even know what he's doing with these things until he meets Fay Wray or Dwan, Jessica Lange in the remake from '76. He hasn't encountered a blonde before, and you know, blondes, they can work some kind of twisted magic upon even the most heroic and hairy of machismos, and they go weak at the knees. So he falls in love with her, and that's the beauty of the original story, that Kong is a rampaging monster. He's full of fury, fair fury and fangs and fists, but his heart is broken by a woman. He's undone by a woman. Beauty will kill the beast. Same old saga every time. And he will ultimately sacrifice himself in a world he doesn't understand. And weirdly enough, he's exploited by Carl Denham in the original, and obviously by Charles Grodin in the remake, 76. Come in. No, stay the fuck out. He's exploited by them for their own entrepreneurial gains, whether it's just to make the biggest show on earth, as far as Carl Denham's concerned. But Charles Grodin in the remake, it's, you know, to big up his business, Petrox Oil and all that, like, and Kong's just like an offshoot of that, really, but it's going to make him loads of money. And but what's happening now? The House of Mouse is now exploiting Kong just as much as an original concept, you know, as a unique selling point, as a brand, as the characters exploit Kong in the stories themselves. So it's like reality is mimicking art in many ways here, because this is now a huge franchise, which, you know, whether you like it or you don't, it's going to go on and on and on. And I think behind the scenes, it has gone on for a long time. There's been the other animated TV shows, there's been these graphic novels, there's been these books coming out, other novelizations, again, none of them canon, but they're all part and parcel of the King Kong phenomenon and cult. So you're not going to stop this. But at least with this, I don't know, Disney Plus are going to throw a lot of money at this, and it will look amazing, I hope. I would personally hope for not a young, skewed sort of cast of characters, be across the board, but tell it, as I said before, as, you know, that original DeVito story was, that it's told sort of like the backstory of the island, how the tribe people got there, their conflict with maybe other tribes, because that's detailed in other books as well, the follow-up books that he did, other tribes, and Gore and his race of, you know, lizards, giant reptiles, how that all comes together. So tell that in one facet, probably intercut with the rest of it. I mean, it could be as sprawling as Game of Thrones. It could be, you know. And apparently the woman who I mentioned, what's her name, the series creator, Stephanie Folsom, she has worked on Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Well, that's a good thing or a bad thing, we don't yet know. But I liked episode 1, so, and we've got episode 2 coming in the next few hours, really. So, hey, I'll be talking about that later. But, yeah, tell it in the 2 time periods, and we'll see how nothing's really changed. And now it says a new Kong, so how's that going to transpire? Is there another Kong on the island, or are they going to Jurassic Park style find a mosquito encased in amber and then go and extract the DNA and create a new Kong? I don't know. I've got to hope not. I hope not. But there's a lot of mystery and awe and wonder and action and spectacle with a King Kong story that you would expect. But you've got to do this right. King Kong is a rampaging monster. You're meant to be, you spend most of the time in total fear and awe of him and what his powers are and his savagery, his primal nature. But you've got to realise that regardless of whatever story they tell, he's got intelligence, and he has got a heart, and he will fight to protect something against all enemies, and he will end up sacrificing himself. Obviously, we're not going to go along, he's not going to be climbing the Empire State Building if it's a modern day story, I don't think so. And it won't be the World Trade Center for certain, because that's no longer there, is it? But there's a lot to think about though, really. I hope they treat it with respect. But that little part of me, which I alluded to before, which is going, oh, you know, be cynical. You can't trust any reinterpretations these days. They're only using it to try and make money. Of course they are. Of course they are. But that Joe DeVito, he's a lifelong King Kong fan. He's mid-60s now, and he's been an artist and a writer and sculptor, a creator for, you know, most of his life. And he's loved King Kong all of his life. So if they're going to work off his stuff, which it does appear to be the case, they're going to work off his stuff. In fact, hang on a minute, there's a bit more I should have said. Right. Got to try and find it now. Yeah, they're going to work from the original Merian C. Cooper, who created King Kong in the first place, his ideas, and the new King Kong novelizations by Joe DeVito, which would be that book I showed you before, and the two that came afterwards. But it does also say somewhere, oh God, where is it now? It does say somewhere. Right. The Merian C. Cooper estate has teamed with DeVito, that writer, to produce new novelizations that are being used as source material for the series along with the original book. There you go. That was the bit, I couldn't find it there. So, the Merian C. Cooper estate, this is why you can use King Kong, which is why you can use all that. They're giving the license to have King Kong in the title. So, they're going to base it, sort of, they got the idea from DeVito's older books, and they're now commissioning him to write new books, new novelizations in that format, probably the large format. And they're going to use them as the basis for this show. So I'm bigging this up in many ways. The show hasn't even begun yet. They're just in early development. They've just signed all the deals. That's all it is. So it's nothing completely set in stone here. Oh my God, this is John Barry's score for the 76 version. This is the waterfall sequence. I really don't have any time for people that say that, oh, I hate that version, I hate it. Don't have the time for you at all. It's the perfect remake. It is, because a remake of a classic film has to move with the times. So not only update the technical aspects of it, the special effects and the whole production value, but it has to tell the story from a different slant, have different characters. Otherwise, you're just rehashing the same old thing. Peter Jackson's version went back to the original, had all the characters, added new ones in, and just expanded everything from the original 1933. Great, but it's just a huge banquet of everything that any fanboy could ever wish for, I suppose. But the original remake told that same story, but from a different time period, from a different era, with different political and sociological sensibilities. And even as a kid, 76, what would I be? I would be 7. I was 6 or 7 years old when I saw it and loved it, fell in love with it. It's one of the hugest things I'd ever seen on the screen at the time, and it blew me away. It broke my heart. And John Barry's music. Everything about the remake in 76 is a tragedy, a romantic tragedy. You have awe, you have spectacle, but they removed all the monsters, apart from a giant bloody snake. They removed all the monsters from it, all the other dinosaurs. Possibly a big mistake, but their slant was a different telling of that story. It was about the oil crisis, and it was about oil barons. That was heavy, rife in the 70s. It still is today, so it's still relevant. So they told that unique monster, tragic adventure, romance, tragic again, because tragedy really is a huge element of this. And if anything, it's far sadder in 76 than it was in 1933. You know, and it's a video. Kong's death atop the World Trade Center is a video nasty. He is shot to bits. And like Jeff Bridges, the hippie, you know, the ecologist, you know, who's trying to protect Kong. It's roar of defiance when Kong hits one of them gunships. Boosh! Two-fisted takedown. And like, he's like, yes! Jeff Bridges. And he takes out the guys with the flamethrower as well. Folks, I love that movie, but it broke me completely. I've said before that my fascination and enduring love of King Kong goes back to my earliest memories. I've said this many times now. My earliest memories of living and breathing were watching two films, both black and white, both probably on a Sunday afternoon on UK TV, both scored by the great Max Steiner. One was King Kong 1933, and the other was the Custer biopic, They Died with Their Boots On, from 1940-41. Both of which shaped my life. The love of movies, love of movie music, and an enduring fascination with Last Stand and with the Native Americans and with Custer himself. I've talked about this at length, but also my love of spectacle and adventure awe, mystery and wonder, adventure, terror, thrills, courtesy of King Kong. And they're my earliest memories. So that's how long, I'm 53 now, that's how long my fascination and love and adoration for this concept has been going. So when I sit here and say that I love and adore the 76 interpretation, you know, people don't just switch off and go, oh, well, I hate it, I think it's shit. Well, that's your opinion. I've explained why I think that is a worthy, not successor. You can never be a successor to the original King Kong. King Kong, special effects wise, action, direction, acting, music, everything about that movie is absolutely perfect. Apart from we haven't got that spider pit sequence, damn it, you know, which we'd love. But as Cooper himself said, and Schoedsack both said, it's a showstopper. You can't, after everything that's happened before, that brings everything to a standstill because it's so goddamn horrific. We can't show this. And it was test screen, they did film it, it was there, they took it out. Peter Jackson went in, took the original script, screenplay, and all the art plates, which I've got, there's a book over there, Making of King Kong, I've got the updated version of that as well, but those original illustrations, yeah, they knew what they were adding in, the spiders, the octopoid monster, the things that are crawling up the side of the chasm, and other beasties which are taking down these poor stricken sailors who've been dislodged from the log up above, but not died in the fall because the vines saved them. You'd rather have crunched yourself to death on the rocks below than face the horrible creatures that are waiting for them down there. Oh dear God. And it brought, the test audiences were absolutely in states of complete trauma after watching that sequence. Legendary, isn't it? Genuinely legendary. So, I love the original and I love the 76 remake. I love Peter Jackson's version. But the time has come to move on from telling that story. You can't tell that story anymore. So I completely understand why you've got to go off in new directions. The Monsterverse brought him against Godzilla, but that was inevitable. That was inevitable that was going to happen. But I'm not on board for that. If you love it, that's great, but I'm not happy with it. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to be tied into that somehow, although it's not given away there. But it does say here, King Kong, a 90-year-old character, it almost is, yeah. 1933, we're in 2022. Yeah, it's 90 years old. With an entangled web of rights, has been a subject of a slew of movies, most recently featured in legendary Warner Bros. Monsterverse, which only uses the Kong part of the Gorilla Monsters moniker, as I said before, for its titles. 2017's Kong Skull Island, 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters, and 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong, followed by a Netflix anime series, Skull Island. So, I mean, yeah, they mention it, but whether this is going to tie in or not, I don't really know. I would suspect it would have something to do with it because there's so many fingers and so many pies here. I don't know. Anyway, folks, King Kong. Gotta love him. Cheers, y'all. He's not a primate. He's my mate. Kong, gotta love him. That's the original. From Trick or Treat, that's the original King Kong. I'd actually love a mask of the Rick Baker 76 version. One thing I can't argue about the 76 version is that the suit itself is, I will directly quote Rick Baker himself who created it, it's a piece of shit. You can see the rips and the zips in it. And he's walking like a man, you know, and all that. But the costume, the suit aside, the mask he created, and he's the one wearing it. Rick Baker himself is wearing that mask. It's his eyes you're seeing, albeit with contact lenses in. But my God, the emotion on that mask can produce, whether it's looking beautifully at Fay Wray, Jessica Lange as Dwan, and his love for her, even ushering her out the way when he's being shot to bits. The pain, the shock and horror on his face, the sort of the reflective, meditative side to that face, that expression, but the rage as well. Oh my God, when he comes storming towards the wall, and you've got Charles Grodin atop, and they've got the big trench they filled with like poison gas to knock him out, and they've covered it all over, so he's going to come crashing through the wall. They've took the bolt halfway back so he can get through the big gates. But when he sees Charles Grodin atop the wall, and like it just goes ah, ah, and he storms ahead, and it's that mighty, you know, gorilla, that alpha male gorilla, bloody primate skull. It's like bristled, and his eyes come down like that. That's still Rick Baker doing that, and that face, that mask, is so expressive. You know, you might now fall in love with this guy, but you're like, oh shit, he's really fucking terrifying. The savagery, the snarl of rage, and the fangs looks amazing. So, you know I've spent a lot of time defending that movie. I always feel the need to defend it. The original is unsurpassable. I recommend all of you Kong fans go back and watch the original King Kong again, because I bet you haven't watched it for a long time. I haven't. I genuinely haven't watched it for a long time. And do you know what else? Here you go. In the next couple of months, you've got a load of classic movies being re-released in IMAX and in 3D, real 3D. Jaws, Dawn of the Dead. Really can't see that being that effective in 3D, to be honest. Oh God, there were some others and I forgot what they are. Is it Halloween? Is it Halloween? Can't remember now. But there's others anyway. But King Kong, the original King Kong. You know, again, reinterpretations and messing around with older movies. Again, you know, your hackles rise. You don't touch it. It's cherished. But 3D would really work with King Kong. The way they shot that with multiple glass plates, and when you watch it even now without 3D on it, it's got a great 3D effect to it already, because you've got the stop motion animation of things in the sort of mid-ground, things in the background, characters in the foreground, things charging towards them, and these different levels of depth put by the glass plates with painted on jungles and then miniatures. It lends itself to a 3D effect. It genuinely does. It's never been released in 3D, has it? Can you answer me? Can't hear you. But let me know, comment below. Has the original King Kong ever been released in a 3D format? I really don't think it has. Don't think so at all. Can't imagine it. I mean, you get all the colorized versions as well. Oh Christ, you've had all that. But let's just hope that someone does it respectfully and you do get to see it in 3D, because it would really work. There's an idea for you. But anyway, so a new King Kong on the way, serialized on Disney Plus. But in the meantime, go back and reevaluate and just reappreciate what Cooper and Schoedsack and Willis O'Brien created in that original movie, which is so magnificent. It's a work of art. It's genius, and a great score by Max Steiner. But this is John Barry's score for the '76 one. So I'm still bigging up the '76. Husky Dog's just returned from a very hot and sweaty walk in the sun. And now she's luxuriating in the water bowl. All right, hon. Here she is. Oh, there she goes. Anyway, folks, have been over Shelby Kiltman. Please keep it Kiltic, keep it Celtic. And in the meantime, in this ever simian in-between time, please just take it easy and just be yourselves. And hopefully, thumbs up and fingers crossed, we get a respectful interpretation of Kong and Skull Island and the people that live there. There is a greater story that can be told. So I'm on board, but I'm also, don't make it for the new people. Don't do that. Let us old timers enjoy it as well. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. I'm going to see you all later, and hopefully with no copyright issues.